So I am seeing some questions, some old school type questions in sales forums and groups and things like that. It's interesting. The questions, the type of which I have not seen in a few years, which I think is an indicator that cold calling is swinging back into the popularity field. If you've been around a long time like I have, you've seen these things come in ebbs and flows, right? Cold calling was very popular around 2012. Was good for a few years and then faded away, right? Relationships, to me, they never go out of style, but in the corporate world and that they go in and out. I had a boss in the early 2000s who was nearing the end of his career. He was in his 60s, and he told me, Jason, these things come in rhythms, and right now it's about relationships. And that was in like 2002 or three or something like that. And so I've seen these things come and go, and maybe phone prospecting is coming back. So the kind of question that I'm seeing that I want to talk about is, hey, I want to sell websites. So how can I cold call and sell websites, or should I do that, or whatever? And I think it's painful, not a good use of your time. There's no way you could charge enough to make it worth my while to do that, to sell websites by phone. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of templated service providers, agencies who are churning out good product, decent product, and do this all the time. And will shout at me, Jason, you don't know what you're talking about. And for that business model, and I've had extensive discussions with an individual I respect a lot who runs a company like that, it works for them. And they're not really about making good margins, big margins. They're about volume. And for them, that's okay. But I'm not even sure they sell over the phone like that. So here's what I would do. And this is the kind of thing, I'm going to include this in the Sales on Fire program, and I'm going to keep this outside in the public as well, just to help people, because to me this is basic stuff. This is ground level stuff. Okay, this is not advanced. I would not say that this is representative of what you get inside Sales on Fire, right? But I feel it needs to be said, so I'm taking some time on my Sunday morning here to tell you about it. So here's what I would do. I would not go for the sale of a website over the phone, especially on the first call. All right. We know a number of statistics from Sales on Fire, and frankly, the numbers these days are probably far worse than that, right? But the rub of it is most of the time, you aren't going to get to connect to somebody who can speak to you today, even if they pick up the phone. Okay. And in Sales on Fire, I give you a process for being able to uncover who that person is and get a call when they are ready to talk to you, which is extremely valuable. I think you will agree, right? Because if you don't get the call, you don't start off the call well, there is no rest of the call. So I just said what the the second thing you have to do is you got to connect, and then you've got to start the call off well. Well, if the first thing is, hey, want to buy my stuff, out of your mouth, it's not going to go well. All right, we've got a process. We know that there's a sales process, right? And that includes prospecting and then qualifying and then maybe converting or closing, right? And so that qualifying phase is where your attention needs to be after you've learned how to get decision makers on the phone. And I've described this in the program. It's a process. It takes about 2 weeks for people to get used to gatekeepers and turn them into your friend and get over that mental block that you've probably got about, oh no, the gatekeepers are out to get me and block me. No, they're not. They are not. Um, but once you start connecting to decision makers, the next step is you get tongue-tied as to what to say. And of course, in the program, I give you some straightforward things that are not difficult to remember. You just practice them a few times and you got it. But you have to get comfortable with it, just like everything else. So what are you going to get comfortable doing in this situation? Well, I would not go for the sale of some website, whether it's a templated thing that you're kind of reselling or subbing out, or a nice, elaborate, personalized individual website that's like a work of art that costs a lot more money, right? You could charge $18,000 or more for that kind of thing. And those of you who are rolling your eyes going, I can't believe that. You think Walmart's going to let some $500 designer touch their online presence? No, it's a match between the prospect and or the buyer and the type of seller. Okay, they have to be on the same level, or else that sale's not going to get made. So in the program, I go into money tolerance and all these limiting beliefs that will mess you up, and you don't even know they're messing you up. But you can work on these things once you begin to get an awareness about them and raise them, so that you can raise the class of customer that you're looking for and the money that you can charge, because you're solving a bigger problem. You see, a $500 website is an indicator of solving a very small problem. A few $1,000s, maybe $100,000. That's an incredible incredible ROI, right, from the buyer's perspective. Okay, and so that really taps out the kind of business that you're going to be trying to talk to, right? And so you need to keep this in mind as you create your prospecting list, which again I go over in the program about how to do that. So, who are you targeting? What's their mentality? What do they want out of it? What size of problem are they solving? Is this just a basic business card type information website, or is it going to have some online sales attached to it, some e-commerce stuff, right? Is there EDI? Oh my gosh, if there's EDI. I was business development manager for a full service IT firm years and years ago, and EDI, this is before the Shopifys and that were around. To make some of this stuff easier, but imagine 2 cubby holes and the information about that dollar coming out of the seller, to the person who's buying it or whatever. Those dollars, they have to match up exactly. If that data goes off into space and there's nothing to grab it or no cubby hole for it to go to on the other side, it gets lost. Like your sale information is just gone. So. And then you run into other problems, like the inventory system isn't talking to the accounting system properly, so what got shipped isn't what got billed, and now you're pulling in all these people from different companies and organizations to try and solve the problem, right? There's an accounts payable person over here and receivables over here, and they're talking to each other, and probably someone in the supply chain is talking to an inventory guy, right? And a warehouse person, right? Imagine the dollars. Right, just on even a $12 or $15 an hour wage level, right? You're tying up a lot of resources trying to undo this knot that got created by bad programming. And so that's an example of why somebody would pay more for a better website. You're solving a deeper problem, a more complex problem. So you need to go into this, and the reason why I've just explained this for 5 minutes is targeting the right kind of person. You don't want to try and offer a $500 website to McKinsey. You don't want to try and offer a templated website that looks generic and the same as everybody else to some, ad agency that's doing $2 million a year, right? They're at the point where they're like, no, we want to be distinctive. And they're ready to spend $18,000 or something like that on that online presence and to look different. And I can tell you from from my own designs. This Sales on Fire design was done in, I think, 2013 or something like that, when we did Sales on Fire 2.0. And the guy's a good designer, but he was a discount designer, right? And there's a big difference between that, in my opinion, and the Cold Start Tech logo that was done by a friend of mine who's a legit professional. And I paid, 5-10 times more, somewhere in there, for the Cold Star logo than I did for the Sales on Fire one. That's the one that I'm proud to have represent us, as we go on. And there's nothing wrong with the Sales on Fire logo, but I don't need to revisit that, But again, because I saw Cold Star as a higher level organization, and it charges a lot more than your Sales on Fire investment to work with us, we're solving much larger problems for a different kind of clientele, right? Then I should invest more money in the professionalism and the look of that logo, right? It doesn't use a stock asset like that flame thing there in the on part of Sales on Fire, right? And one of the things that I paid my designer for was, for the Cold Star logo, was coming up with the design of a star. And I had gone out, he was not the first designer that I went to with ideas. I would tell the designers what I wanted. I would show them examples. We were actually looking at 5-pointed stars at that time. And then my guy came up with this, right? The four-pointed star with the different colors in that. And the first time I saw it, I was blown away by it. I'm like, it's exactly what I want, and I didn't even know it. And that's what you're paying for when you pay more, right? You solve the problem at a better level. So, thinking about your website sales issue, who are you solving this problem for, and how generic or customized do they want it, right? What else is going on in their heads when they're thinking about this issue? Well, and that will take you so far. But the problem is we don't know what we don't know. So that prospect doesn't know what they don't know, right? And so if you can niche down and say, look, I work for companies that are in the $2 to $5 million range. Let's say I'm picking numbers out of a hat here, but it's a specific range, right? There's no reason why you couldn't go up to 10 or something like that. Beyond that, I think they're going to make different decisions. But let's say you're in that range, $2 to $5 million, who are dissatisfied with their old, outdated, stale, templated online marketing presence and want to upgrade to something else that just is more customized, displays them in a much better light, and displays the capabilities that they have today. Right? That's the frame of how you create your prospect list, right? Because you can find this information. You can find it on LinkedIn. You can find it on, the database websites about investments and things like that, right? There's tons of them. Just get a subscription. It's pretty cheap, right? To start scrolling through, and I'm sure there's other ways of doing it as well. But getting that list together of companies and then finding executives at these companies, which again, I can go to LinkedIn and search for marketing manager who's working at this company or something like that, or an owner. Probably you want an owner at an organization like that. And you could even niche down, right? We work in the supplements industry with $2 to $5 million companies. You can niche down to whatever you want to, and I encourage you to do it, because a lot of people are afraid of niching down. And I think this is a big mistake, because somebody can always come to you and go, well, Jason, I understand you work with supplement companies in the $2 to $5 million range, and I like what you do, but like we're in that financial range, that revenue range. Could you do the same thing for us? We're in the fitness industry. Right? It's adjacent. Why would that be difficult for you, right? But people will come and ask you questions like that. And so you don't need to be afraid of niching down, and it really helps you come up with that targeted prospect list, okay? So meanwhile, our guy who doesn't know what he's doing has slapped together a list of just companies, probably not in a revenue range, probably not in a specific niche or even a couple of niches, right? And it's just blindly calling everything in sight. And then trying on the first call, if he does connect with somebody, to sell this website. Again, big mistake, right? You're just going to run into a brick wall there. Why should I do it? Why should I make a change now? So again, going back to people don't know what they don't know. This prospect is in a position to afford what you have to offer. They have a need for it, but they don't know what to value in terms of this kind of website. So what I would do is put together some kind of free report, and you do this once. I am not a fan of doing like you see these SEO assessments and things like that, and then people will make a video and it'll take them all day, and then they'll send out like 6 of these a day or something like that. You could do that, I guess, and you could make sales from it, but to me that's exhausting, and my belief is on the other end of the line, nobody's going to read that thing. If they're a high C in the disc profile, they may read your 50-page report, but most of the people, the Ds, are not going to be interested in that, the dominant folks. They want the 2-page summary, the 1-page summary, and to get the hell out of there. And make a decision to move on. And so, here, if you give them this giant SEO report and they're supposed to flip through it, they're never going to do it. So you're wasting your time, okay? And you won't even know it. And then once in a while, somebody will buy. And so it's like the rat thing with we'll give you a food every so many clicks, but we won't tell you which one, right, when you hit this lever. And so you keep doing it. But it's not consistent, and we want consistency around here, right? So this free report could be 1 page, right? People love lists of like the best podcasting equipment, the 10 best camera accessories for vlogging or something like that, right? They love this kind of stuff. And so I personally would put in a little more effort than that. Maybe a 5-page report, 6-page report on what to value and what kind of things that you have talked to. If you could get quotes in there from other company owners in that industry saying, we value this and that, not even like we bought from you or these guys, but we value these things, right? Um, those statements will jump out, right? Those, if you get those pain points on target, they'll jump out at the reader and they'll go, wow, this is made for somebody like me. Okay, can you see how much better that is in terms of setting them up for your follow-up call, which is going to happen, than blindly going for the pitch right away, right? I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't go direct for the pitch. I'd warm them up and differentiate myself with a document like this. If you want to make a video that goes with it, fine. But I'm a big believer in doing effort once and then using it many times. Okay, that's a much better use of time than trying to do some individual thing for each prospect over and over and over again. That's exhausting, and you feel like you're doing something, but it's not effective, right? And so, and we'll see this. You could send them to a web page with an opt-in, and people have been doing that with advertising in traditional like newspapers and that for a very long time, right? Get a page in the Wall Street Journal that tells you to go to this link and sign up for this free book, and it's a PDF, right? It's an ebook, and that's your sales tool, right? That's the teach them and warm them up tool. Okay, so it's the same thing here on a slightly smaller scale format, and so your job is to call and ask whether they'd be interested in this free report. Okay, and you can mention a couple of pain points if you want. That this thing talks about, and ask for their email address and send it to them. Okay. Now, here's where technology can help you. I would want to know that they received it and that they opened it, right? So there's plenty of programs that will do that for you. Plug into your autoresponder, and you'll see. And then you can book a time to talk again about it if they're really interested in the initial call. I don't know if they're going to be open to that or not, but there's nothing to stop you from calling back after they've looked at the report. And so you get the indication that they've opened the report, you get that notification that they opened the email, and now you've got a choice. You could call them back right away. You could call them back in a day or two or something like that. I wouldn't leave it much longer than that. Right? We want to strike while the iron's hot. It's still top of mind for them. But if you call back right away, you could say, hey, John, I noticed you opened the email. Did you download the report? Okay, have you had a chance to read it? Probably not. It's been 5 minutes. Would you like to? Here's what I suggest. If you've got the time to read it now, and then I'll just hang out here on the line. And whatever questions you have as you go along, just ask me, and I'll be happy to answer them. And at the end, it'll be pretty clear as to whether we should do anything next or not, right? And the bonus of doing this is you have the chance to hear exactly what objections or missing pieces of your document are coming up in that prospect's mind. And so this gives you a chance to adjust that report, right? Your marketing tool, when you hear the live feedback. A lot of people back in the day were sending out examples of templated websites, doing this throw the thing over the wall method, as I call it, and never hearing back from that prospect, right? Whether they liked it or not. If you send them a red website, what if they don't like red? What if they feel that particular design is not relevant to them, right? You'll never hear it. They just won't talk to you ever again, right? So I would not send a template like that as an example unless I was on the phone live with them and say, let me hear your live reactions and we'll go over it, right? Oh, I don't like that. And a lot of these things are a simple one-line coding change, right? It's pretty easy to change the background color of a website. Right? It's a different code. So, hearing live what's actually happening in your prospect's mind as they're going through your stuff is incredibly valuable. And then you don't want to change the thing every time you hear something new. But if you hear like 2, 3, 4, 5 people that you've given this to say the same thing, like there's this chunk that's missing, or you didn't address this, or underneath this point, this paragraph really needs to be expanded out to explain more. Great. It gives you a chance to go and explain that more, or you can leave it half done and call them back and say, hey, John, I appreciate you taking the time to look at this thing. I can tell you opened it up. Let me ask you something, if that's okay. In this paragraph underneath point 3, I find a lot of people kind of get the concept, but they want to hear more about it, right? Is that the case for you? Okay, and we've got an opener right there. So you hear a lot about people saying add value or value bomb or share value or whatever. Here's the issue with that I have, and this is done in like LinkedIn Messenger, Facebook DMs, in groups and that. Nobody asked for it. They have to ask for it. They have to say it's relevant. Relevance. You hear about the know, like, trust thing. Whatever. That can be done very quickly. I can get know, like, trust going in a few minutes. Okay. And it's not because I'm so great. It's because I understand the principle of relevance. It has to be relevant to them. It has to tap into some urgent need that they have going on, okay? And at the beginning, you don't know what that is when you're entering into an industry. Neither do I. I can make a really good educated guess, but I need to talk to members of that target market in order to hear, and I will hear it will jump out at me, what those pain points are that they're really interested in, that are relevant to them. And then I can modify the marketing tool that I started with to speak more directly to that. And so again, remember, it goes back to relevance. We are trying to make a connection here where that marketing material is relevant. It feels relevant to that prospect in that range, say that $2 to $5 million. And I just picked those numbers out of the air. This is the nice thing about those lists or giving recommendations inside of a marketing tool like this. People want the one right way. And I'll link to a blog post on salestactics.org where I talked about that years ago. Okay, this isn't a new concept for me. People want that one right way to do something. They just want to be told, do this, this, and this, or get this, this, and that, and you're good. Okay. Now, the secret is, between me and you, there is no one right way. Okay? The one right way is whatever you say it is. Now, the problem with that is a lot of scam artists and people with no expertise and no experience have decided that because they're confident and can deliver some lines confidently out of their mouth, that that one right way can be their way, and they go and I think people are pretty familiar with the idea that you can rent the Lambo or the mansion or the yacht or the airplane, get some pictures with it, and then kind of take it back to the Home Depot, that you got it from. And these outward trappings of success tend to fool uneducated people who don't really know what's going on. And you probably know about this, but there's a lot of people out there who don't, right? There's a lot of people who have never looked at the back end of a WordPress website, right? If I show the average person suchandsuch.com/wp-admin or wp-login.php, their eyes bug out. Ooh, you're a computer guy. No, I'm not. It doesn't make you a computer guy. But to the average person, it's miraculous to them. They've never seen it, especially if you're in the online marketing world. We tend to get sucked into this idea that everybody's a Kindle author or something like that, right? No, it's just us. It's just the subset of the population that you're hanging around with the most. So remember that. So the one right way is what you say it is, and I sure hope you've got the expertise and the experience to back that up. Okay? But there's no perfect one right way to do anything. There's just ways. And this is why success is not mechanical. You don't just do this, this, and this, and suddenly you're a millionaire. Otherwise, everyone would be successful. Everyone who sold one of these junk courses on how to succeed for $17 would produce winners. And we know they don't. Success is conceptual, not technical, just like sales is conceptual and not technical. Okay? So, speaking about that, that's what this marketing piece is about. It's conceptual, right? It tells that prospect conceptually what's going on here, what to value, what kind of problems are being solved that they probably weren't aware of by this level of solution, and that it matches up with their situation. So why wouldn't they be interested in talking to you further and buying from you? Okay? So that's what I would do in this situation. And again, this was triggered by folks posting in forums and groups about using cold calling to sell websites. And I could just feel the failure radiating off these things, right? They were going to go out there, they were going to bash themselves against the rocks of indifference. They would not be relevant to anyone. They would not teach them anything. They would not transfer an idea conceptually from their mind to the prospect's mind through that marketing tool. And they wouldn't have the right order of things. They would just go out there and not stick with it. And a lot of people will say, oh, this, it doesn't work. Cold calling doesn't work, or whatever doesn't work. Direct mail doesn't work. I had this chat with a friend of mine recently where he kind of ambushed me with the whole thing about, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. And he went through a whole litany of marketing processes and techniques that just wouldn't work. And there was an excuse for every single one of them. And so if you want to have an excuse for yourself that something won't work, sure, you're going to be right, right? The man who wants to succeed or thinks he can't succeed, he's right on both occasions, because he's going to beat himself or fuel himself to continue. So, to get to success, again, it's not a technical thing. It's not a click here, do this type thing. It's figure it out kind of thing. And you have to stick with it and figure it out until you get there. And then you've got it for a long time until there's some great technological change, as I've talked about with the pain points in the field that you're operating in. So what I've explained here should not be complicated. If it is complicated, I really recommend you go read some basic sales and marketing books, some Dan Kennedy, No BS books would probably really help. I don't think this was super in-depth or anything from my end compared to what you get inside the Sales on Fire program. This is basic stuff, but I see a need for it. There's a lot of folks out there who want to have a business who don't know how to sell. They may have some technical expertise. They know how to put together a WordPress website, a little bit of copywriting. They can hire a Fiverr graphic designer to do the logo or something like that, and that's good enough. That's good enough for a small business that doesn't have a lot going on, doesn't have a lot of complexity to it. And there's money to be made there, and you can do that if you want. It's not the level that we operate at. So if you like this and you want to find out more, I really recommend looking at the Sales on Fire program. It's not cheap. I'm not giving away my expertise. It's just not happening, right? Like I give and give and give and give, and I've given for years. And again, this is positioned to, it's still not that expensive though. As an expert, a funnel strategist, a guy who's looked at many things, other people bring me their clients' funnels, their products, their membership sites, the funnels to sell these things, and ask me for my feedback. Right? They have me look at it and give my expert opinion on what could be improved, what's working really well. That kind of thing. Don't touch this. Right? That's good information because people tend to want to change everything instead of one variable at a time, for example. And I can tell you, having seen inside many other sales training programs, there are lots of training programs out there that are $10,000 and up, and they don't have half as much, a quarter as much of what I teach in Sales on Fire. So it's a great investment. It's been around for years. It's going to be around for years to come. It's not a flash in the pan thing that has come and gone. I'm still here. a lot of people I started out with in 2011, 2012 in online marketing have been gone for a long time, and their products lasted like 6 months and weren't supported in that. I keep improving. I keep adding on. As a Sales on Fire customer, you can message me and say, Jason, I'm having trouble with this topic, and I'll go make a video like this for you and put it inside the membership area. And I'm happy to do that because it means more content and more value inside the program. All right. So head on over there check it out. Remember, it's a tax deductible expense. Take your receipt to your accountant. They'll know what to do with it. It'll lower your taxes payable, and you get to keep some more of your money. Obviously, having a consistent sales process and the marketing expertise and the business structure stuff that I talk about, how to run a company, will help you out a lot and create a ton of value if you use it. So the link's below, and thanks for watching this today. If you like it, leave a thumbs up. If you don't, I guess leave a thumbs down. YouTube doesn't seem to care. I get the same number of views regardless. And if you have a question, I guess you could leave a comment. Thanks for watching.